Picture this. It's a crisp Friday evening in late autumn. The air is cold enough that you can see your breath, but nobody outside the grand brick gates of Vanguard University seems to care. Why? Because tonight is the annual alumni gala. It's the single most exclusive event of the year. We're talking about a room filled with old money, hedge fund billionaires, political power players, and legacy families who have owned chunks of the East Coast since the 1800s. The parking lot looks like a luxury supercar showroom, and the red carpet leading into the grand ballroom is spotless. And right there, standing just a few feet from the heavy oak doors, is Marcus. Marcus is a young black man in his late 20s. He's wearing a sharp, tailored dark charcoal suit. It fits him perfectly, but he isn't flashing a $10,000 watch or loud jewelry. He's just standing there, holding a gold-embossed invitation card, looking up at the university's crest with a quiet, reflective smile. For him, this place isn't just a playground for the rich. It's the place that changed his life. But before he can even take a step toward the security checkpoint, a shadow falls over him. Enter Richard. Richard is 72 years old, the current president of the Alumni Association, and the living embodiment of the old guard. His family's name is literally carved into the stone of the library. He's wearing a tuxedo that costs more than most people's annual rent, a silk bow tie, and an expression that looks like he just smelled something rotten. Richard has spent his entire life protecting the gates of this institution from what he considers outsiders. And to Richard, Marcus looks like the ultimate outsider. Without even checking the guest list, Richard steps directly into Marcus's path, blocking the entrance. He doesn't ask for identification. He doesn't say good evening. He just stares down his nose and says, clear enough for the nearby guests to hear, "Hey, you. The back door for catering staff and deliveries is around the corner. You shouldn't be wandering around the front entrance. Move it along before you cause a scene." Marcus blinks, caught off guard, but keeps his composure. He raises the gold invitation card. "Actually, sir, I'm a guest. I'm here for the gala." Richard doesn't even look at the card. Instead, a condescending smirk sneaks onto his face. He scoffs, loud enough to draw glances from a couple of tech executives walking past. "A guest? Let's be real for a second, son. This isn't an open mic night, and it's definitely not a soup kitchen. I know every single legacy, family, and major donor in this state, and I've never seen your face. You probably found that invitation in the trash, or swapped it from someone who actually belongs here. Look at you. You think putting on a nice suit hides the fact that you're just trying to sneak into the VIP lounge for a free meal? Don't make me call security to drag you off the property. Save yourself the embarrassment and leave." Wow. Just pause for a second and think about that. Imagine working your tail off for years, earning your spot in a room, only for someone to look at the color of your skin and your youth, and decide you're nothing but a thief looking for a handout. Look, let's be completely honest here. We've all been in a situation where someone looked down on us, judged us by our cover, or decided we weren't good enough before we even opened our mouths. If you've ever felt underestimated, if you've ever had to fight twice as hard just to be seen, do me a quick favor, hit that comment section right now and type the number 1. Just a simple 1 to let me know you felt that fire. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started with this story. And trust me, you do not want to miss how this plays out. To understand why Marcus didn't just throw a punch or walk away right then, we need to take a quick trip down memory lane. We need to go back exactly 10 years. 10 years ago, Marcus didn't own a suit. He lived in a cramped, 2-bedroom apartment in one of the roughest zip codes in South Chicago. His mother worked 2 jobs, one as a night shift nurse's assistant and another cleaning offices downtown just to make sure the electricity stayed on. Marcus grew up with the constant background noise of sirens and street arguments. But while other kids were out on the corner, Marcus spent his nights under a dim desk lamp, surrounded by library books on mathematics, advanced coding, and economic theory. He knew from day one that nobody was coming to save him. There was no trust fund waiting for him. There was no wealthy uncle to give him an internship. If he wanted out, his brain was his only ticket. When he applied to Vanguard University, his guidance counselor told him he was aiming too high. They only take 5% of applicants, Marcus, she said. And let's be realistic. Those spots usually go to kids whose parents went there. But Marcus didn't listen. He spent months perfecting his essays, studying until his eyes bled for his standardized tests, and building raw machine learning algorithms from scratch on a battered, 10-year-old laptop he bought at a pawn shop. And then, the miracle happened. Not only did he get accepted, but he received a letter that made his mother burst into tears right at the kitchen table. It was the Vanguard Presidential Scholarship, a full ride, 100% covered academic foundation funded by the university's endowment. It paid for his tuition, his room, his books, and even gave him a small stipend for food. For the first time in his life, Marcus felt the overwhelming power of gratitude. Some group of strangers who managed the university's wealth had looked at a poor kid from South Chicago and said, "We believe in your mind. Here is your chance." That debt of gratitude became his fuel. While his wealthy classmates were out partying on weekends, Marcus was in the lab, developing algorithms that could process data faster than anything currently on the market. He didn't just want to graduate, he wanted to become successful enough to pay that debt back, with interest. But standing outside the gala tonight, looking at Richard's smug, arrogant face, Marcus realized that the university might have given him an education, but it hadn't changed the ancient, rusty gatekeepers who still thought they owned the place. Back to the present, the tension outside the ballroom is thick enough to cut with a knife. Richard isn't backing down. In fact, seeing that Marcus isn't immediately running away with his tail between his legs infuriates the old man even more. He steps closer, invading Marcus's personal space, his voice dropping to a harsh, venomous whisper. "Listen to me, you arrogant little punk. You think because this school has some progressive diversity policies that you actually own a piece of it? You're a charity case, a statistical checkbox. People like me spent generations building the endowment funds that keep the lights on in this place. We built the labs you studied in. We pay the salaries of the professors who taught you. You are a consumer of our charity, nothing more. Now, give me that fake invitation and get the hell off my red carpet." Marcus doesn't flinch. He doesn't raise his voice. He looks Richard dead in the eye, his expression completely calm, almost peaceful. "Sir, my invitation is real. I graduated from this institution with honors 4 years ago. I received the presidential scholarship, and I am here tonight because I was formally invited by the dean of admissions." Richard lets out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Oh, a scholarship boy. I knew it. A premium free rider. Let me tell you how the real world works, kid. A scholarship means you were a liability. You took money out of the school's pocket. Tonight is a fundraising gala for the elites who actually put money into the school. You don't belong in this room because you don't have the capital to be in this room. You're a parasite trying to rub shoulders with hosts." With that, Richard snaps his fingers sharply toward 2 large, burly security guards standing near the velvet ropes. "Hey, security. Over here right now. We have an intruder trying to force his way into the VIP reception with a fraudulent ticket. Escort him off the campus grounds immediately. And if he resists, call the local police department." The 2 guards look uncomfortable. They look at Marcus, who looks completely respectable and professional. And then they look at Richard, the powerful billionaire whose name is on the university buildings. They know exactly who signs their paychecks. They slowly walk over, stepping between Marcus and the door. "Sir," one of the guards says softly to Marcus, "I'm going to have to ask you to step away from the entrance. Please don't make this difficult." A few other wealthy alumni are watching now. Some are whispering. Some are looking away awkwardly, but nobody steps up. Nobody says a word to defend Marcus. To them, it's just an old man dealing with an administrative mistake, or a young guy who doesn't belong. The silence of the crowd is deafening. Let's stop the tape right there. It is genuinely wild how some people think that having a massive bank account gives them the right to treat other human beings like dirt. Richard honestly believes that, because he inherited old money, his character is superior to someone who built their life from scratch. Let me ask you a real question. Do you think a person's value comes from their character and how they treat others, or does it come from the brand of the suit they wear and the size of their portfolio? If you think character is what actually matters, drop a 1 in the comments right now. Let's flood the section with ones to show that true value can't be bought. And hey, if you love seeing arrogant people get exactly what they deserve, hit that subscribe button right now because the tables are about to turn in the most beautiful way possible. Before we get to the massive explosion inside the ballroom, we need to take a quick time out for a reality check. What Richard said about endowment funds and charity cases isn't just his personal madness, it's actually a reflection of how elite American universities operate behind the scenes. This is what we call the educational donor power structure. Let's break it down in plain English. Elite universities like Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and our fictional Vanguard University sit on billions of dollars. This pool of money is called an endowment fund. Think of it as a massive, permanent savings account fed by wealthy donors, hedge fund investments, and real estate holdings. The university doesn't spend the core money. They only spend the interest earned from it to fund research, build massive sports complexes, and yes, pay for scholarships for kids like Marcus. For decades, the people who controlled these funds were people exactly like Richard. Old money. They used their donations as a leverage tool. If a university wanted a new science building, Richard's family would write a $20 million check. But in return, they expected their children, grandchildren, or nieces to get automatic admission, what we call legacy admissions. It was an insular, self-serving wheel of generational power. They felt they owned the culture, the politics, and the future of the school. But over the last 10 years, a massive, violent generational shift has been happening. The global economy changed. Wealth is no longer just tied up in old railroads, shipping lanes, and real estate. The new wave of extreme wealth is being driven by technology software, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and decentralized platforms. And guess who understands technology better than anyone? The young, hungry, brilliant minds who came from nothing, who used their academic foundation to solve massive real-world problems, while the old money heirs were busy spending their allowances. The balance of power is shifting, and old gatekeepers like Richard are absolutely terrified because they realize their old money can no longer buy exclusive control over the future. They are clinging to the gates because they know that once the gates open wide, their unearned privilege evaporates. Which brings us right back to Marcus, standing on the red carpet with 2 security guards moving in on him. Marcus looks at the security guards. He looks at Richard, who has a victorious, ugly grin on his face. Marcus doesn't argue. He doesn't yell. He doesn't cause a scene. Instead, he simply nods, takes a step back, and says calmly to the guards, "You guys are just doing your jobs. I understand. I won't make this hard for you." He turns around and walks back down the red carpet, disappearing into the chilly autumn night. Richard chuckles, adjusting his bow tie, and walks through the grand oak doors into the warm, glittering ballroom, completely satisfied that he had cleaned up the entrance. Inside, the gala is spectacular. Crystal chandeliers hang from the high ceilings, champagne flows like water, and a live string quartet plays in the corner. The room is packed with over 500 of the school's most prestigious alumni. After an hour of socializing, the chimes ring out, signaling everyone to take their seats at the grand banquet tables. The lights dim slightly, and the president of the university, a distinguished woman named Dr. Elizabeth Vance, steps up to the microphone on the main stage. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen," Dr. Vance says, her voice echoing through the massive hall. "Before we begin our dinner, I have an extraordinary, historic announcement to make. As many of you know, over the last fiscal year, our university's capital investment fund suffered a massive, unexpected shortfall due to global market volatility. Our research labs were facing shutdowns, and our signature presidential scholarship program was on the verge of being suspended for the next 3 years." A murmur of concern ripples through the crowd. Richard sits at the center VIP table, nodding sagely, enjoying the gravity of the moment. Dr. Vance continues, a bright, genuine smile breaking across her face. "But 3 weeks ago, a miracle happened. An anonymous donor stepped forward. A single individual wrote a check for $10 million to completely rescue and permanently solidify our academic foundation and scholarship funds." The entire room gasps. $10 million. In a single lump sum. That's not just a donation. That's a structural rescue package. For the past 3 weeks, Dr. Vance says, her voice rising with excitement, this donor insisted on remaining entirely anonymous. They didn't want publicity. They didn't want a building named after them. But after immense persuasion from my office, they have agreed to let us honor them tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the founder and CEO of Nexus Artificial Intelligence, our very own brilliant alumnus, Mr. Marcus Vance. Wait. Hold up. The spotlight cuts through the darkness of the ballroom, scanning the crowd, and then swings violently toward the grand rear entrance of the hall. The double doors click open. Walking down the center aisle, completely unfazed, is Marcus. He had walked around to the side of the building, met with Dr. Vance's personal assistants, who had been looking for him, and entered through the VIP staging area. He is still wearing the exact same charcoal suit. He still has the exact same calm, steady expression. The entire ballroom erupts into a thunderous standing ovation. 500 of the most powerful people on the East Coast are on their feet, clapping wildly, cheering for the young man who just saved their alma mater. And then there's Richard. Oh, you have to see Richard's face. The smug, arrogant grin is completely gone. His jaw is literally hanging open. His skin turns a ghostly, pale shade of green. His eyes look like they're about to pop right out of his skull. The charity case he just tried to have thrown out by security for trying to steal a free plate of food is the $10 million anonymous donor who just saved the entire university. The silence at Richard's table is absolute. Oh my goodness. Talk about the ultimate, most beautiful plot twist in history. If your jaw dropped just now, if you are feeling that incredible rush of satisfaction watching an arrogant bully realize he messed with the absolute wrong person, go ahead and smash that one button in the comments right now. Let's get a chain of ones going for Marcus. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button right now to join a community that celebrates real merit, hard work, and instant karma. Marcus steps up onto the stage. He shakes hands with Dr. Vance, adjusts the microphone, and looks out at the sea of wealthy faces. His eyes trace over the crowd until they land directly on Richard, who looks like he's trying to shrink into his chair and disappear through the floorboards. Marcus clears his throat. His voice is smooth, professional, and entirely devoid of anger. Thank you, Dr. Vance. And thank you everyone for the warm welcome. 10 years ago, I came to this university with nothing but a cardboard box of old clothes and a mind full of questions. I grew up in a place where people didn't think about global economics or advanced algorithms. We thought about survival. But this university gave me a foundation. The presidential scholarship changed the trajectory of my life. It was a debt of gratitude I carried with me every single day as I built my company. The crowd hangs on his every word. You could hear a pin drop in that room. When I heard the scholarship fund was in trouble, Marcus continues, I knew I had to act. Because education shouldn't be a country club where you only get in if your grandfather's name is on the wall. Education is a crucible for talent, regardless of where that talent comes from. However, Marcus pauses, his gaze locking intensely onto Richard. Even as we build the future, it's clear that some people are still desperately trying to cling to the past. The room goes dead quiet. People start looking around, sensing the shift in the air. Just an hour ago, Marcus says, his voice completely level but carrying immense weight, I was standing outside those front doors. I was holding my official invitation, but the president of our alumni association, Mr. Richard Harrison, intercepted me. He told me that someone who looks like me belongs at the back door with the kitchen staff. He told me that because I was a scholarship student, I was a liability and a parasite who didn't have the capital to belong in this room. He even called security to have me arrested for trespassing. A collective, horrified gasp echoes through the ballroom. Heads turn instantly toward Richard's table. The tech executives, the politicians, the old money donors, everyone is staring at Richard with absolute disgust. In the modern world, even among the wealthy, that kind of blatant, prehistoric arrogance is a massive toxic liability. Richard's hands are shaking so badly he drops his wine glass, sending red wine splashing across the white tablecloth. He tries to stand up to defend himself, but his legs refuse to work. He is completely isolated in a room full of his peers. Marcus looks at Richard one last time, a look of profound pity on his face. Richard told me that I didn't have the capital to be here, but he forgot that the most valuable capital in the world isn't inherited money. It's intelligence, it's resilience, and it's the gratitude that drives you to build something better for the people coming behind you. I didn't give this $10 million to buy a title or a building. I gave it to ensure that the next brilliant kid from South Chicago doesn't have to ask for permission from people like you to enter the front door. The ballroom goes completely wild. The applause is deafening. People are cheering so loud the windows shake. Dr. Vance steps back up to the microphone, her face stern as she looks toward Richard's table. The next morning, the fallout is swift and brutal. The story of what happened at the gates leaks to the university's board of trustees and major tech investment partners. By 9:00 a.m., the board of directors calls an emergency meeting. A legacy name doesn't matter when you've publicly humiliated a $10 million donor who controls the hottest AI firm in the country. Before noon, Richard is issued a formal ultimatum: resign immediately from the Alumni Association and forfeit his honorary seat on the board, or face a public, highly publicized vote of no confidence and legal review for discriminatory conduct. Left with zero allies and a ruined reputation, Richard signs the papers. He leaves the university campus in total disgrace, stripped of the only thing he actually cared about: his unearned power. Meanwhile, Marcus's $10 million endowment fund officially launches, opening the doors for hundreds of new scholarship students every single year. He didn't need to yell, he didn't need to play dirty. He just let his success do the talking. Because at the end of the day, no matter how hard the gatekeepers try to hide the light, the truth always speaks at the right time.